Good morning, folks. My name is Greg Farley, and I'm happy to join you this morning by way of this little pre-recorded video. I am the director of the Center for Leadership in Environmental Education at Chesapeake College in Eastern Maryland. If your institutions are anything like mine, you'll understand a little bit about why I can't join you in person this morning. Our budgets have been a little bit tight lately, and so in the name of fiscal sustainability, what we're hoping to do this morning is to tell a little bit of a story about what's going on our campus by way of a short video and a little bit of a documentary filmmaking event here. So thank you again for having me in. Thank you to our partners at the Better Building Challenge. And I believe if you have any questions that my president, Dr. Viniar, is in the room with you this morning. Dr. Viniar, would you take a moment and just sort of introduce yourself or wave to the room? What I'd like to talk about this morning is our Better Buildings Showcase project, which is a renovation of a campus building that was originally a gymnasium and a pool, and which has become sort of a showpiece for what can really be accomplished with energy efficiency and with renewable energy. We're very proud of this building. Just to give you a little bit about Chesapeake College before we begin with the Showcase project, we are a rural community college on Maryland's Eastern Shore. And so what that means is that we serve a 5-county region on the Eastern Shore that encompasses about 20% of the land area of Maryland, but only about 3% of the population. Agriculture dominates the landscape here, and in addition to that, 4 of our counties are waterfront on the Chesapeake Bay and are home to small working waterfront communities, commercial fisheries, and a tourism industry. So when we set out to do energy projects on the Y Mills campus, we are actually leading this region forward into sort of a renewable energy future. Farming is a great place for solar energy in particular to grow. There are solar farmscapes up and down the Eastern Shore. And a solar project is sort of at the heart of the narrative I want to tell you today about our Showcase project. Our campus was founded in 1965, and many of the original buildings went in shortly thereafter. The original buildings on campus are 5 that reflect our 5 counties. There is a Caroline Student Center, named after Caroline County, a Kent Humanities Building, a Talbot Science Building, a Dorchester Administration Building, and a Queen Anne's Technical Center. Because we were built in the early 60s when nobody was really considering energy projects, the entire campus is electric. We have no on-campus generation of steam, nor heat, nor any kind of electricity. We draw from the regional power grid, and our power supplier is Delmarva Power, which is a subsidiary of Pepco Holdings. We'll talk more about PHI and their role in our success going down the road. The entire campus, when I got here in 2003, was on 1 electric meter. And we are slowly working to rectify that. We're working to sort of sub-meter some buildings with a particular goal of finding out what our energy peaks and valleys are and how we can best adjust building schedules to accommodate building performance. The good news is that since 2003, when we've started renovating many of the original buildings on campus, we really did start doing this with an eye towards particularly fiscal sustainability, but also building performance in the name of saving money along the way. The Eastern Shore is geologically very interesting. It's an easy place to drill. And so we've been doing an awful lot of geothermal wells on campus. And in fact, any building renovation we've done on campus since 2003 has been done on geothermal HVAC systems. My favorite story about geothermal HVAC on the campus is that when we renovated the Talbot Science Building in the mid-2000s, we were told that the original investment on the geothermal HVAC system on that building had an 8 to 10 year ROI, and then oil went through $100 a barrel, and I was told that we paid it off in 2.5 or 3 years instead. In addition to building performance and energy savings, we've also looked at renewable energy for the campus. Our initial effort in this was a wind turbine. We have a 50 kilowatt E3120 machine on campus. It performs really well in the spring and the fall here in the Chesapeake Bay region. We have some sort of slack wind times over the summer, but from fall through spring we get pretty good production out of it. To date, and I love the internet age, you can look up the data, at the moment we have produced 319,000 kilowatt hours, which probably amounts to sort of about $31,000 or $32,000 worth of electricity for us since the turbine was installed in late 2011. So we're approaching the 5-year point on that now. Additionally, we have on campus a 1.76 megawatt solar photovoltaic array. That's actually being installed as we speak. The ground mounted part of it is about a 5 or 6 acre former soybean field on the campus. And we are finishing installation as we speak of parking lot canopies over one of the parking lots that's adjacent to the new building I want to tell you about. So in addition to what we're trying to do for energy savings across the campus, we are also trying to do as much local generation as we can. Because we are a rural campus, we do have plenty of room for installation of new energy technologies. We are not constrained by space, which is, I think, one of our greater assets. The solar photovoltaic project was developed at the same time and in conjunction with the renovation of our Health Professions and Athletics Center, which is the building project I want to tell you about. And it includes a number of sort of neat features. The parking lot canopies are an advantage in foul weather here in the Chesapeake. Certainly they'll help keep snow and rain off of commuters and students' cars. And in the back row of that parking lot, we are installing an additional 10 electric vehicle charging stations. Our goal here is to sort of build the infrastructure for EVs on the Eastern Shore. EVs have been a hard sell here because towns are really far apart, and a vehicle with 40-mile range may or may not even get you in one direction, much less round trip. So building the infrastructure for EVs here and charging just enough to cover grid rate rather than trying to make a profit. We see this as an important part of sort of leading the region forward into the next generation of automobiles as well as the next generation of energy. So the building I want to talk about this morning is our Health Professions and Athletics Center. This was a massive renovation of one of the remaining original buildings on campus. When it was opened in 1976, it was a pool and a gymnasium. By the time I got here in 2003, it was still a pool and still a gymnasium. The pool had become very expensive. As you can imagine, the maintenance on pools is enormous and simply grows with age. And because the building had settled and the materials were aging, and also because building codes had changed, the building really was not performing particularly well with regard to its energy use. So when we decided to renovate this building, we knew we wanted to go after some significant energy improvements. The other thing we wanted to do with this building renovation was to expand the size of the building. We have a flagship nursing and allied health and surgical tech series of programs that had previously been housed off campus along with allied health programs and emergency medical services at a local hospital. That hospital at the time was also looking at renovation and had told us in effect that they were not going to build new capacity to house our programs there and that it was our responsibility to find that space. So we wanted to use this building as an opportunity to bring the health professions programs home to campus to help sort of make them more part of the campus community. And at the same time, we wanted to be able to expand the building without increasing its energy footprint as much as might be expected. The original building was just shy of 40,000 square feet, and we wanted to add about 60,000 square feet for a total of just over 100,000 square feet for the building after renovation. One wrinkle for us was also the fact that under Maryland code, we had to do the building renovation to LEED Silver standards. That was a law passed by the O'Malley administration. We saw LEED Silver as a baseline and sought from the beginning of the design process to convince the architectural team to shoot for a higher LEED standard. Our original target of LEED Silver has since been surpassed, and we believe we have applied for and we believe we can make LEED Platinum status for the facility. As we reported in our Better Buildings Challenge profile for this building, we achieved a 31% reduction in energy use relative to expectations and a 56% cost saving for the project. So this is a project that demonstrates that you really, with proper planning, can save a lot of money during the process and then again during the operation of the building. Energy highlights in the building include a number of architectural features that we were particularly proud of. There is a solar hot water loop that preheats water for the single building hot water loop that serves the athletics facilities and also the laundry. There is also a system of 200 geothermal wells in a nearby field that support a geothermal HVAC system that I think provides a significant chunk of the energy savings for this building's operation. The building makes good use of natural daylight. It's well lit on the inside through a low-E, low transmission glass, so it transmits a lot of light but not a lot of heat, which is important in Maryland summers. We also installed daylight harvesting technology that allows us to gauge the amount of natural light inside the building and supplement that with only the required amount of light rather than overlighting spaces and wasting energy thereby. In addition to the daylight harvesting technology, the whole building is sensored with occupancy sensors, and lights only turn on when they're needed in the spaces that are active. We've also used very efficient lighting throughout the building, both very efficient fluorescent settings, and where possible we've gone to LED lighting fixtures, which help cut down on energy use. The building hot water loop is augmented by a roof-mounted solar thermal system that pre-feeds the hot water heater, which is a high-efficiency propane appliance. And then we coupled that with low-flow aerators on sinks and showers throughout the building. The building also has well-placed drinking fountains. And in addition to sort of traditional drinking fountains, we've also installed water bottle refilling stations across the building to try and encourage building users to use their own water bottle rather than disposable or recyclable plastic bottles. Recycling bins are paired with waste receptacles. This helps our building staff efficiently sort recyclable material from non-recyclable material, and it helps us cut down on disposal costs for trash that has to be hauled away. So now that you know a little bit about the building itself, I want to talk about the good things that can come of partnerships and the great things that can come of pushing the envelope and positioning your college as a leader in the renewable energy dialogue. When we applied to put in a solar photovoltaic field, we chose to write that request for proposal as a power purchase agreement with no initial cost out to the college. And when we crafted that RFP, we sent it out on the street, and we got at least a dozen responses to it. We saw some very innovative, very good designs. We chose Solar City as the developer, and it turns out the installer as well for the project. And when we went to apply for interconnection to the regional grid, we were told that we were not allowed to connect our solar project to the grid node in Y Mills. This is at least partially because there's a 90-acre, 13.7 megawatt project going in right around the corner from the college that connects at the same grid node. So simply put, our small project was going to overwhelm the grid node, particularly with regard to sort of safety concerns at times of max productivity for the array. When our interconnection request was initially denied, we reached out to Delmarva Power and its parent company, Pepco Holdings. We also had connections at the Maryland Energy Administration, and we invited some of their participation. We invited Solar City to the table, and then a member of the Maryland Public Service Commission, which regulates utility connections throughout the state. And we sat down and presented the opportunity to Pepco Holdings to use our project as a way to learn how to connect more solar energy to the grid in our region. This turns out to be a very important conversation for Maryland. Maryland has an aggressive renewable portfolio standard that dictates that we shall get some growing proportion of our energy from renewable energy by a particular date. A proposal currently with the Maryland House of Delegates would have that number at 40% by 2030. And so this is an aggressive renewable energy administration and an aggressive set of policies designed to foster renewable energy. In our region, there are legitimate grid concerns, legitimate engineering concerns about how much energy can be connected safely to the grid in this area. So we sat down with Pepco Holdings and Delmarva Power and simply asked, what are the limitations and how could we use this project to overcome them? How could we learn from this installation how to better connect more energy to the grid, more renewable energy to the grid going forward? Pepco received the request favorably, and after some sort of exploration about what the legitimate engineering concerns were, we developed a partnership with them that allows their technology to talk directly to our array. Once we get that technology directly in place, what that technology does, as I understand it, and I'm a biologist, I'm not an engineer, but it should allow us to assess conditions at the grid node, to assess productivity on our array, and to curtail power coming off the array in small amounts to basically shape the power coming out of our array so that it doesn't damage the transformers at the grid node. The benefit to this is that this is technology, as I understand it, that's being developed specifically for our array and just for this application, but which has wider application across the grid going forward. As the grid becomes saturated with solar energy and renewables of other sorts, these communications technologies are going to be necessary to connect ever-widening productivity from renewable energy to various nodes on the grid throughout the Eastern Shore. So this was a good opportunity for the college to sort of give a little bit in the arrangement. We certainly have to, we agreed to give up just a little bit of our potential productivity in terms of what energy might be curtailed, with the idea that the greater good of the region could be served by doing that. And Delmarva Power and Pepco Holdings have been really fantastic partners in driving that forward. It's my understanding that that technology will eventually include a SkyCam, a camera that reads cloud cover coming over the array and attempts to use a predictive logic to anticipate changes in power productivity. Again, this is not something that's been tried at this scale, at least here in Maryland. And perhaps most exciting for us, Pepco Holdings reached back out to us and said, would you mind if we used this opportunity to explore how battery technology might fit into the grid in your region? We, of course, jumped at the chance. This is really cutting-edge technology. They brought to the table a vendor called AF Mensa from New Jersey. And AF Mensa, Pepco Holdings, and the college are now engaged in sort of a three-way dialogue about how to get the solar panel and the production inverters to talk to the storage unit in the battery via some very specialized software, how to get that entire apparatus to talk to the grid. And the battery will allow us, we hope, to island a couple of buildings in the name of sort of regional resiliency. That allows us to run those buildings even when the grid is down, and to maintain refrigeration and air conditioning capacity for emergency shelter capacity and emergency medication distribution for the area. It will also allow AF Mensa to participate in peak shaving mechanisms that represent a financial income stream from the battery. It allows them to integrate the battery with renewable technology for generation, thereby using a different method of storage than simply pouring renewable energy back into the grid and effectively using the grid as a giant battery, which is what we've done in the past. With that, I'd like to open the floor for questions. Dr. Vinier has told us that she will happily field questions from the audience. And if you have further questions, Dr. Vinier can put you in touch with me directly. My contact information appears on the screen at the end of this presentation. And I'd be remiss if I didn't end by thanking John Jameson and Sultan Latif and folks at the Better Buildings Challenge for helping position us this morning to give this talk and to tell this story, and to encourage all of you to help position your colleges in similar leadership capacities as the renewable energy future comes towards us at an ever-increasing pace. Thank you very much.